real simple. No pictures.
John Berquist of Soma Games, and I'm here for the second installment of the Ultimate Coder Ultrabook Challenge. Last week we talked about what we're going to do in the contest. I first wanted to talk about this Asus Ultrabook that we've been using since March. I took this on a 16-day trip throughout Asia, and this was a great travel device. I had to charge it probably 2 times in 16 days. I played games on it, I blogged on it, I created a couple videos on Premiere Pro, and there was no lag time. It does have a small hard drive with a solid-state hard drive, but I know with the new Ultrabooks that's getting easier to get larger sizes of those. I think this one had sub 200 gigabyte, and I know the newer ones have more. So that's just a quick thing, just a little bit about traveling with the Asus Ultrabook. Now back to the Ultimate Coder Ultrabook Challenge that we started last week with the new Intel Ultrabook. I just have to say this is a big improvement, even though this Asus first generation Ultrabook is great. Can't talk about the specific changes that they've done to processors and those kind of things because it's all under NDA. But this is a great new device, and I think it's a huge improvement. Even improvements over what we've seen with this. Last week we talked about our plans to parallel develop wind-up football for both the iPad, the new iPad, and the new Ultrabook technology. So I'm glad to say we have our first development build on the touchscreen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to Gavin and see what's new on the development side, talk about what our plans are next, some of the challenges, and play around with the app and see what we got. So Gavin, what do you have for us this week?
Hey, so this past week we've been working mostly on core functionality and gameplay. So we have all of the robots crashing into each other. We have a single player mode now, so it's the robots against the monsters. We have different balls. We have all the robots are in the game now. We have different fields. So a whole bunch of different stuff. We've done a bunch of UX improvements, little things like there's an arrow now that always points towards the ball or whoever's holding the ball. Just little things that help keep the game moving in the right direction despite all the chaos that's going on. And it's great chaos. So we've been getting some really good positive feedback on people who've been playing the game and testing it, really enjoyed it. They've been given good feedback on areas to go forward, and so we've made some pretty drastic improvements and changes this past week.
And the response that the robots have to touch on the screen is really good. I'm impressed. Graphics are great. I'm playing this right now. I'm playing in fantastic mode for Unity, and I think it's at the highest resolution for the Ultrabook, and it's really great, and we're just getting started.
Oh yeah, I'm used to 20 megabytes of space in this thing, and like 128 256 megabytes of RAM.
And for the iPad, we're always limited by that space, and download space also. So when someone goes to iTunes, if they're on their mobile device and not connected to their home network, they have a limit, and so we're always at those limits. And this, we don't have any of that, so it's really nice to have a lot of freedom.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I'm just looking forward to once we have all of the gameplay in and all the systems working together and play testing right. I'm just looking forward on spending time just adding visual polish, upping the particle counts, post-processing effects, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm gleeful at the idea of triple digits worth of memory and hard disk space.
Because this is a parallel development with the iPad in mind and the Ultrabook, is there things that as you develop these together that are challenging you, that are helping you in development on one side and also on the other? Like any examples like that?
Yeah, so UI is a great example where when you're going on a the iPad or the iPhone, it's a fixed screen size,
Sure.
and so you don't have to worry about variable things. But on the Ultrabooks, we're going to have to. There's going to be different resolutions, and some people may want to play in a windowed mode. Some people may want to play in full screen. We got to keep that kind of stuff in mind. We're not limited on the Ultrabook, but that also means that we have to consider more options,
Right.
And how we're going to cater to those players who want to make those changes.
And one thing, we were talking with Sam, who's also our cameraman, but he's also our quality assurance fellow in the shop here, was mentioning that we have the multiplayer like we do on the iPad. It would be nice if the Ultrabooks laid flat, because we have a landscape with one side on here and one on the other for the players. And this version here only lays this flat. And I think the Asus that I showed earlier, it only goes to about here. Gavin, we've seen a few of those examples, maybe out of Computex and some videos about ones that slide forward. I think that's just something that'll naturally make these touchscreen Ultrabooks better. And I'm hoping more of the hardware companies go that direction.
Yeah, totally. The idea that since it is a touch screen, these can be much more social devices. They don't have to be extremely personal. The hardware manufacturers are going to have to take that kind of stuff into account and put those kind of features in. Where you can lay the screen all the way down, or fold it back and have it. Or maybe there's a screen on the back, or something. I don't know what kind of solutions you guys are going to come up with, but we're going to need those kind of features that let me share my content with my friends all around me in the best way possible. So that is my challenge to you, Ultrabook makers.
And we're headed in those directions, like the Surface that we're seeing that's coming out in late October, where it's taking those 3 devices that people travel with, I travel with, and breaking it down into 2 devices. It's a tablet, but it's also a hardcore work machine, gaming machine. And I think the closer we can get to those 2 devices being a phone and a machine like that, all the better. It's the less I have to have in my bag.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all we have for this week. Check back next Monday. I think we're going to have a little surprise, shake it up a little bit, bring in one of our robots, but more on that later. Be sure to comment on our blog post here. Also vote for us if you think we're doing some cool things on the Ultimate Coder page.
If we get the most votes this week, we'll release a public demo so you guys can see what's going on with this thing.
Cool. Looking forward to that. Thanks.